Good day. Welcome everybody to this Key Communications webinar. My name is Linda Edling and I am the Marketing Coordinator here at Pacifictech. I'd just like to take you through a few housekeeping items before we jump into the session. We are recording the webinar, so please feel free to let me know whether you would like a copy of the recording, either by dropping a note into the chat box pane or you can pop an email through to me. Everyone is automatically muted and will be for the duration of the session. And we will field all questions at the end of the webinar. So please use the questions pane to submit any questions that you may have during the session. Now I'm happy to introduce Bill Flick, our Sales Manager for North America. Over to you, Bill.
Thanks for that, Linda. Welcome everybody, and thanks for coming to our Key Communications for Sage 300 webinar. As Linda mentioned, my name's Bill Flick. I'm our North America Sales Manager. And also with us today, we have Jamie Steele, our Global Business Development Manager. Today, we're going to just give you a little bit of an intro on our company. Jamie is going to go through the presentation and the demo. And at the end, we'll get into questions. So take a look at the questions pane. You'll see it on your menu there. And feel free to enter your questions there and we'll review them later. So we'll move on with a little bit about who we are at Pacifictech. Pacifictech's been providing solutions to Sage 300 customers for over 20 years. We're focused on delivering Tier 1 capability and enhanced functionality to what is now over 2,700 Sage 300 customers around the globe. Using Sage's software development kit, otherwise known as the SDK. This is a really important reference and something to take note of because you'll find it differentiates us from other ISVs and Sage technical partners. Our solutions reside directly inside of Sage 300 as a result of us using Sage's software development kit and being engineered the same way that they engineered Sage 300. We have a comprehensive workflow and procure-to-pay suite of solutions, including AP automation with procurement. We're bringing our experience with AP automation, procurement, and workflow solutions to extend Sage Intacct as well. Our data centers around the globe are in Australia, Canada, South Africa, and New Zealand. It's important to make note of this because here in North America, we use our data center downtown Toronto, Canada. And this is used for our connected services such as PW Web and our PT Go app. We've received a number of awards over the years from Sage that we're quite proud of, and we truly are a global ISV. Now, if we want to take a quick look at our solutions and compartmentalize them into 4 groupings, we have the automation suite, which is our OCR and vendor invoice data extraction and automating that process, which includes other functionality such as e-invoicing, employee expense reporting, punch-out, web procurement catalog, and more. We have our mobility suite, which extends the functionality of our modules in Sage 300 to browsers and mobile apps. We have Control Suite, where we have one module called Audit Logger that gives you the ability to audit user activity throughout Sage 300. If you want to prevent certain types of user activity, we have Workflow Notifications, which gives you the ability to put workflows around various fields and views in Sage 300, stop people from doing things that you don't want them to do without approval. That includes changing vendor bank accounts, changing customer credit limits, even creating vendors that you don't want. It just avoids fraud. Then from there, we have our workflow suite, which complete end-to-end procurement from our purchasing workflow through to the payables workflow, including workflow documents, which allows us to go paperless and attach the documents from procurement to the payable side. We also have our workflow notifications, which gives you the ability to not only have control, which is what I referenced in Control Suite, but it allows you to put approvals on payments, vendor payments. We don't process payments, but we can take you to the point of approving the vendor payment. So that's a quick overview of our solutions and what we at Pacifictech have to offer inside of Sage 300. at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Jamie so that he can get on with the presentation. Over to you, Jamie.
All right, thanks very much for that, Bill, and hello to everyone, and thanks for your time joining our session today. So now we'll focus on key communications, which is the topic for this webinar. So key communications, we abbreviate it to KC. So it was first released in 2011, so it's a pretty mature product, and really it was designed from day one to handle the emailing of documents out of Sage 300. So you can set up an unlimited number of contacts against each customer and against each vendor. So yeah, that was available in 2011. Sage have now added in multiple contacts into the core product, which is great to see. So I guess that, yeah, does quite a similar job to what our KC contacts do. And so what we do with each contact, you flag them as to which documents are to be emailed to them. So that's so you can have 3 different people at a customer getting invoices, and then 3 other people getting the statements, or they can overlap where one person gets the invoices and the statements, like the accounts mailbox, for example. Right, so that's the setting up of the contacts, and then the next key part of KC is the emailer programs. So we've got emailer programs in all of the key parts where you send out documents from Sage 300. So in the AR module, we've got an invoice credit emailer, a statement emailer, and a receipt emailer. Under accounts payable, you can send out remittance advices. Under order entry, we've got emailers for quotes, orders, and invoices and credits. And then on the PO module, there's an emailer to send out POs. And yeah, we'll show these emailer programs to you, but one of the key points is you get the visibility of what's actually going to be sent out before anything is sent out. And so that's, a very key feature so that people know what's going to happen before it happens. Some more of the key concepts. So it uses SMTP emailing. So Sage 300's moved over to that a few years ago, which is really good. We were using it from the outset in 2011. The email messages can contain meaningful data using the email variables. So that's obviously pretty important. The users can preview the emails and the Sage 300 document that's going to be attached. So they can see that before it gets sent out. Now, another key feature is the queuing facility. And so what this is, it's almost like a 2-step process if you want to. So some clients don't use this and other clients use it. But what it means is the admin person can go through the process to send out all the invoices, all the statements, but that'll actually put it into a queue, and then a more senior person can review those and do a few spot checks, and then if they're happy with it, then they release the documents out of the queue. Then another key part of the system is we've got a document log that records all the emails that were sent out along with the attachments. So that's all saved within the Sage database. In terms of the emails themselves, we can support HTML formatting. So you can have the covering emails, including logos and really nice branding. And we've also got a facility for custom forms. And so this is, allows KC to be extended for different requirements that clients have. And probably one of the main examples where this gets used is with Service Manager. So I've got quite a number of customers who use Service Manager, and they use KC to send out the invoices and credits out of Service Manager. And so the whole idea is that then have the log of all those documents being sent out. All right, so that's just a bit of an introduction on the key concepts. So now we'll hop over and have a look at key communications itself. So we'll go to our Sage desktop, and you'll see under Common Services, we've got the folder here called Key Communications. This is where we do the configuration of the module. So the options is just got your mail settings and your activation code. This document processing screen, this is really a pretty fundamental part of the system. So what you do here is you specify the different types of documents that you're wanting to send out using key communications. And if we look at just one of these rows here, you can see, or let's say OE invoices and credits, we've got a from email address, customer invoices at pacifictechsol.com. So this is quite a key pointer. I believe Sage 300 just is limited to a single from email address, whereas with key communications, you can have a different from address for each document type. And that's quite important for the whole customer, your Sage 300 clients, customers. This makes it much more powerful. And then the next thing here is the file name of the attachment. And so here you can see we've got $doc_num. So what that means is that key communications on each invoice, it will create the PDF using the invoice number. So in other words, the PDF will be IN000123.4.pdf. So again, that's much better than using just the crystal report name. And then here's the queue. So whether you want to use the queue, so you can use the queue for some documents and not other documents. Store printed documents. So that's if you just want to store the PDFs within the log. And then these last process, this is just really when you're getting started, when you're doing your first runs with key communications. Right, so that's the setup there of the different documents. We'll now look at the email messages. So this is pretty straightforward, so we won't spend much time on it, but I think you'll all be familiar with this. So you can, it's very much like what you can do within Sage 300. You just put in your variables. We've got a button down the bottom here called Insert Variable. So that just provides a list of all the variables that you can choose from. And you can see here the message format, plain text or HTML. Right, and then custom document types, we've touched on that. So an example here, if we want to do service manager, invoices and credits, we'd configure that in here. All right, so that's the sort of configuration of the module. And then if we now come and look at setting up the contacts for each customer. So if we come into the AR and come into the customers screen or folder, you can see there's two new tabs that show up from the key communications module. And so the first one is the contacts. So if we look up customer 1210, you can see we've got three contacts here. So we've got Jason, Morris, and statements. So if we open Jason, you can see we've got first name, last name, and what their email address is, some other fields relating to that person. And then we've got a few other sort of fields that we can populate here. But if we come to document delivery methods, this is where we say for this person, which documents are they to get. So Jason's is asked to get order confirmations, OE invoices, and AR invoices. We look at Morris. Morris gets those three documents plus also gets statements. And then the mailbox or the contact called statements is only getting the statements. So yeah, pretty straightforward to configure what documents get sent to what users. Right, so that's the setting up. So yeah, you set up your contacts. Casey also works with the contacts that are set up on the customer. So we sort of recommend you set up all your contacts within the Casey customer contacts, just from a simplicity point of view. But if you're transitioning, and in fact, we've also got macros that we can move all the contact data from ARCUS into the customer contacts as well. Okay, so that's the setting up of the customers. And if we look under vendors, we have the same fields there. So we've got the vendor contacts and the vendor document log. So we'll focus on the AR side for this session. Right, so that's the setting up of the contacts. So now we look at the emailer screens themselves. So if we look here under order entry forms, we've got 3 emailers. We've got quotes, OE confirmations, OE invoices. We look under AR transaction reports, we've got the invoice emailer and the receipt emailer. And under customer reports, we've got the statement emailer. Then under AP, we've got the remittance emailer there. And under the PO module, we've got the PO emailer. So those are all the emailer screens. So if we come into, let's just maybe look at AR, if we come into the AR invoice emailer. So we open up that screen and we can select a batch here. So batch 66, and then we can restrict it further within that batch, whether it's just a customer name or a customer ID. And then here we've got our email message, and here's the report name. So this is the crystal report that will be generating the invoices. So we now click on this button here, generate list. So that'll list all of the invoices within that batch. So we've only got 1 invoice in that batch. And it then finds, so from that invoice, it then finds who the customer is and then looks up the customer contacts. And so it says 1 invoice needs to be sent to Jason, and the invoice needs to be sent to Morris. Okay, so now we can also toggle these. So this first column is set to yes, but we can change it to no if we, for some reason, we don't want to. So we can also go deselect all, which sets them all to no, or we can go select all, sets them to yes, and then obviously toggle them. Now, if we want to preview what's going to be sent here, we click on this button, and this now sort of brings up the crystal report that's going to be sent out to these people. And then if we're happy that that's to go out, we now click on print send, and so this now generates the PDFs, and it either will send it out or it'll put it into the queue. So it shows you in this column here the status, so you can see both of them are queued. So that means they've just been put into the queue, waiting for someone to review them. Right, so really these emailer screens, as I said a little bit earlier, they give the users the visibility of what's going to go out before it goes out. So, they can do checks and get the comfort that they're sending out what they want to be sending out. Right, now there is also a tick box up here called Auto Select Unprocessed AR Invoices. So KC keeps a record of what documents haven't been processed yet. So that's another approach that you can use. Right, so if we now go and look at the queue, so we'll come over to Key Communications Queue Processing, and we can see that we've got 4 documents in the queue here. So here is some, so the invoice is quite an old one, obviously, so about 5 years old, but the date that we ran it was here. There's a couple of other ones sitting here from yesterday. So what we can do is, if this is now another user who wants to review this, they can look at the details, so they can see the email that's been put into the queue. They can open up the PDF and review that. Right, so if we'll send out those 2, click on send now, so that'll send those out. And another reason that some customers use the queue is they have some preference around the time of the day that they want the documents to be sent out. So whether it's sort of a set time in the morning or later in the afternoon. So the queue sort of gives them that ability as well. Right, so that's sending out an AR invoice. And then if we come and look at AR statements, so we'll come into the statement emailer. And so here, this is our statement run. So we do the normal statement run within Sage, and then we come and send out the statements based on that. And so here you can see we've got the statements being, so here you can see there's a whole list that are printed and 3 that are emailed. So it handles, printing as well as emailing. I'm not sure how many Sage 300 clients actually do printing anymore. Yeah, so then we can sort of deselect all, and we'll just, I don't want to do any printing, so I'll just send these 3 statements out. Excuse me. Right, so that's put those into the queue as well. All right, so that's the emailing of the invoices and the statements. So now if we come over to order entry, so if we come into the OE forms area or folder, so if we come and look at our OE invoice emailer, and if we come and just generate our list, so this is now going to do a date range. So we've got about 5 different ways where we can select the documents. So here I've done a date range. But with order entry, this auto select is used quite heavily. And so the whole idea, we've got what we call a bulk emailer that can be run as a background process. And so that can be set to run periodically. So whether it's every 2 hours or every once a day, and that process will come in, it can identify all of the OE invoices and credits that haven't been processed, and it will then do the emailing of all of those documents. So basically the whole process of sending out emails of invoices and credits out of order entry can be just handled by this automated process. And this tick box is really the key to that. So if I click auto select unprocessed invoices, then none of them show up because I haven't generated any more. But otherwise, if I just leave that unticked, it'll send out these 2 here. All right, so now if we can preview those. It's not a very nice invoice format, I've got to say, but anyway. And then if we're happy with that, we send both of those out. Right. So now if we go and look in our queue, so there it shows our statements, the 3 statements that we sent out from the statement emailer, and here are the 2 OE invoices. So they're actually a duplicate of these ones up here. Just because I've been mucking around in my demo environment. So now we'll send out all of these, the bottom 5. All right, so that's the way. So I think you'll see it's a very sort of simple system to use. So quite powerful, but also quite easy to use. Right, we'll just go and look at the emails now. So yeah, they just take a few minutes to come through. So actually, maybe we'll just look at a few other things and come back to them. Oh yes, so now if we look at the customer document log, so if we come over to accounts receivable, customers, and then come to the document log, And so if we look up this customer 1210, this is a record of all of the documents that have been sent out to this customer. So if we come to the bottom of the list, we can see on today's date, here are the AR invoice and credit. So we sent that out here. So if we click on the details, we can see who it was sent to and the email message that was sent. So that's the exact message as it was sent. And this PDF, this is the PDF that was sent at the time. So it's not sort of rebuilding the PDF. This is the exact PDF that was sent to the customer, whether it was 1 month ago or 2 months ago or 5 years ago. Right, and then we've also got our email log details, so we can see the date and the time that it was put into the queue and then the time it was actually sent out. Right, so that shows our two invoices there that were sent out to the 2 contacts, and then our statements, and then the OE invoices. And so I guess one feature that everyone would be familiar with is the customer saying that they've lost the invoice. And so we've got the ability to resend that from the screen. So just click on resend. That'll send that invoice out again to that person. Right, so indeed we've got different filters up here, so you can just look for certain documents, just start from a certain date and range. Yeah, so that's the document log. So quite a powerful record, for the AR staff to be able to just refer back to that. Right, so now if we look at the emailing, so here's our test email account. So you can see these are the 6 emails that we've sent out using KC this morning. So here's the AR invoice. So this is the from email address that we saw previously. And so here's the invoice, the subject with the subject line containing the document number. Here's the email message with the PDF attached. And likewise the statements. You can have statements ending as of the 31st of July 2020 as part of the PDF and also as part of the, that's right, we've got it in the subject line there, but you can also have it in the PDF name, which is quite useful. And then here are the 2 OE invoices, or the OE invoices that were sent out to the 2 people. So again, a different from address. Right, so that's the visibility of those emails being sent out. So I think that's all of the key areas to look at. On the AP side, it's just the same sort of concepts. Like I said before, you can email out your purchase order forms, and you can email out the vendor remittance advices after they've been paid. Right, so that's really the key parts of the demo. So now if we just come back and recap on the key benefits. And so, yeah, so the users can see all the emails that have been sent out to a person or to a customer or the contacts within a customer. So that's all available from within Sage 300. Like I've touched on, you can have different from addresses. So your AR invoices can be from a certain address. Your purchase orders can be from a different address. Statements can be from a different email address. You can set the file name to be the document number, which is very, very important from a usability point of view. And you can have nicely formatted email templates, so the covering email also can be nicely branded. And really, key communications gives the ability to see all of your communications from Sage 300 within a single screen. And we've had some feedback from some customers who, I've touched on the point already, but just these emailer screens, they let users see what's going to happen before it happens. With Sage 300 AR statements, you're not really sure what's going to happen because you don't get a pop-up screen. I think the emailing just goes out straight away, sort of thing. Right, and then also, this bulk emailing, which is a feature that we've really just enhanced over the last, well, since probably February or March of this year. So it's the ability where it'll just take care of the sending of the all the documents out. And so I can see there's a question there. Someone's asked about, do we create a schedule to control when it sends out the documents? And so the answer to that is this is just set up with your scheduled task. So whatever you want the frequency to be, you set up the scheduled task that runs the EXE that we've got that does all the emailing. Right, now another couple of features that are coming up within key communications. So one of them is the sending of e-invoices. So e-invoicing's quite a major change in the way that invoices are sent between organisations. So it's a sort of a true EDI, well, full EDI system, but it's using this agreed format called PEPOL, which has come from Europe. And so this is sort of used within Europe and also Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and I believe the US and Japan have just signed up with using PEPOL in the last few months. So yeah, basically the whole concept of a PDF doesn't exist with e-invoicing. It's just sending a JSON file from one company to another company and through these middle players, which are called PEPOL access point providers. So on our AP automation side of things, we've supported e-invoicing for over 2 years on the inbound side. So we've got some government departments in Australia that use Sage 300 and have been receiving e-invoices since July 2021. So that's on the receiving side. We've been supporting that, but on the sending of the e-invoices, we're almost finished having that functionality available, so that'll be available within the next month or so. Right, so yeah, quite excited about that. And then the other one is web screens. So we've done a lot of work on web screens for a lot of our modules, and with KC I think we're probably about sort of 2/3 of the way through the web screen, so we'll have that fully available in the Q4 of this year. All right, so just to recap on some of the differentiators, Bill's touched on some of those already. So with all of our solutions, the data is sitting inside Sage 300, so it's not like you've got any syncing going on with other systems. The configuration's all within Sage 300 as well, so that makes it very easy for business partners to learn it and to implement it, and also customers to use it as well. And I think obviously, yeah, PrintBoss is a pretty big player in the US or North America, and I think PrintBoss does a pretty good job. We don't know a lot about it, but I think it handles sending of documents. So I guess we've got a few sort of extra features over and above PrintBoss. So it's obviously just like always, what's required for certain clients. Right, and so just in terms of some of the questions there, someone's asked about what version of web screen. So we're starting with version 2021. So we have 2021 and higher. So And then obviously, I think the next version of Sage is coming out next month, version 2024. So we'll support 2021, 22, 23, 24 of web screens. Right, another question there is encryption of PDFs. So actually that's a feature that we do not have currently. Would be keen to just sort of talk to you guys a little bit more about that. We do get asked that from time to time, and it would be a nice feature to add in. So I think maybe once we get e-invoicing and web screens done, then I'd like us to look at that encryption side of things. All right, so that's really everything from my side, Bill. So
Okay,
back
great.
to you.
Thanks for that, Jamie. I see there is another question or two in there, and we will get to those. So maybe over the next minute or two, when I just do a quick overview of our modules, if you have a couple questions, and these are good reasons to stick around to the end, so that the other folks can hear the answers to these. I think my favorite part of this is that piece where you're in collections mode and you call a customer who hasn't paid their bill, and they say they haven't received their invoice, and you literally within a couple clicks are right back into the document log and hit resend while you're on the phone to them and make sure that they confirm receipt so they have no more excuse not to pay that bill. So with that said, just a quick look at our modules. So advanced stock take extends the ability to do physical inventory in Sage 300. As we all know, Sage 300's inventory stock take month end is not that great. It works, but it doesn't have, it has one worksheet. You got to do, your month end on the actual month end, or you're figuring out the ins and outs. Our advanced stock take does the retroactive work for you. So you can pick the date that you want to know your position on and literally click it. And it does all the ins and outs for you. And it'll actually tell you if something falls in the middle where you want it to lie. And then the other big feature is multiple worksheets for your products. So those two features alone are a good reason to talk to us about advanced stock take. Audit Logger, Big Brother, that's the one of these control features where you can audit user activity, publicly traded companies, some other groups like unions or whoever needs to audit user activity. That's Audit Logger. Commitment accounting gives advanced fiscal management reporting on budgetary position. So anybody that needs to have a better view on their position from a budgetary perspective, this is a really great tool. Funds availability is used quite a lot with our purchasing workflow and gives people a great budgetary control around cost centers. They can create budgets, view their budgets, and actually have visibility of them when they're trying to spend money or approve spending. Internal issues is the consumption and control over the consumption and approval of pulling things that you've purchased that are in storage somewhere. Could be inventory. You could even be having them in inventory to resell to customers, but you are consuming some of them yourselves. So that's internal issues, and there's more controls around the use of internal products that you're buying. Key communications we just saw today, so I don't really have to explain that. So I'll just get on to the click here and see if that works. On to the next slide. There we go. Payables workflow, of course, touch on to our AP automation. Won't get into it a whole lot, but payables workflow is sort of the foundation of our AP automation, and that's vendor invoice approvals. Purchasing workflow is the piece where you're going to spend money. This is before we even get into getting a vendor invoice, and you want to have purchase approval. So, and actually both of these workflows, a lot of people ask us, do they change how things work inside of Sage 300? Because there's that thought that, well, we're going to do things differently now in terms of how things happen in the actual accounting system. And we don't. We get in the middle. So right now, if you post an AP invoice or PO invoice, or you're creating a PO, they just go direct to creating the transaction. And all we're doing is getting in the middle with approval processes and a proper audit trail. Half of your troubles today are getting an actual audit trail too. People are emailing each other saying, is this okay? Is that okay? Is this okay? And then later when you get audited, you don't have papers, you got a bunch of emails. So we keep the audit trail directly in Sage 300 right inside the actual posted transactions. So that's purchasing workflow and payables workflow. PW Web gives you the ability to extend Sage 300 functionality for our modules to a browser, and actually also to mobile phone app, PTGo app. So we don't want people always in Sage 300. They don't belong there. They're approving invoices. Maybe they're doing requisitions to buy things. They tie up land packs. So by allowing them to do these things through a browser or a mobile phone, you can have up to 50 people on one Sage land pack, and they don't have to be in Sage 300. Vendor catalogs is a way of controlling and respecting your vendor supply agreements, where you have maybe pricing and dates and expiry dates. So when people are doing requisitions, you can control, if you like, who people are buying from in your organization with your supply agreements. Workflow documents is this paperless part of our whole workflow uh, suite, from purchasing through to payables, and the ability to attach the actual supporting documents to the posted transactions, not somewhere else, right attached to the posted transactions inside of Sage 300. So when you get audited, you can give your auditor read-only view, or whoever, and then go in and see these transactions and actually go to the document tab and see the post, like the actual original document. Workflow notifications is the one that gives you the ability to control changes. You know, you can put a workflow around creating vendors, or the workflow around changing vendor bank accounts, or around vendor or customer credit limits. The really big piece of that for our AP automation is approving the payment batch. So nowadays, people are sending money electronically a lot, and you go post the payment batch, but really there's nothing in there to say who approved that if you're sending the money electronically. So we have the ability with workflow notifications to put a workflow on the payment batch, so that when someone tries to process that, it can go off to the controller, CFO, or whoever, and then they can see the electronic documents, who approved them, the original document, and everything, and actually unlock the payment batch by approving it. So that's a look at our products. And what we'll get into now is I'm going to hand this over to Linda again and take a last look at our questions. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Bill. I think Jamie's actually had a look at all the questions and answered them during the process of the sessions. So I think that covers everything, and we would really like to thank everybody again for your time and attending this session with us. If you'd like a copy of the recording, please just drop me an email and I'll be happy to send it through to you. Thanks everybody, and we hope you have a good evening, good day, wherever you are.
Yes. Yep. Thanks everyone for your time.
Have a great day.
Take care. Bye.